Welcome to Black Media
Thank
Matter
you,
Studios.
man. I'm honored just to be here, and witnessing history in the making.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
'Cause
this is
this
what
is
it's about.
beautiful.
This is
This
what
is
it's
beautiful.
about.
Yes, it is.
I'm
It
so
is.
glad that you were able to come. And honestly, I recently got connected with your music and with you. But I know and I understand that every artist has their own story. Let's dive into your story a little bit here. What got you started into music? What was your pull to say that this is how I'm going to make my mark?
Well, what got me started in the music was my family. My auntie's always been into the music. My grandfather owned the nightclubs back in Texas, where we originate from. So he met all the greats like the BB Kings and Ray Charleses and the James Browns. He knew them personally, just as they friend or as a promoter with a club. So I think that's where I honestly got it from, because I always said to myself, I said, now there's a reason why my auntie them only made it so far. Is because they was the artists. You know, understand what I'm saying? And it's all about being in the background and the label and the management to how far the artist gets with their artistry.
Mhm.
And I understood that early in the game. Early in the game, I just happened to be, myself. I just happened to know how to rap. I just was talented myself. I put out artists previously back in so you might as well say we started like 95.
Mm.
Crafty, the Walton Nut Project, the Sweet Pea, Nutcase, a couple compilations. We was doing our thing. What Let's Do This Studio with Sam Ezel, rest in peace.
Mm.
Then Keek with C6 Studios over on
Yeah.
23rd. That's where I originate from. That's where I got my start at. That's where I got my feet wet, into the Seattle music scene, period.
Well, when you talk about being able to be kind of behind the scenes and also, being able to be an artist in the forefront, tell us a little bit more about the things that you're doing behind the scenes. Because we know that music is a huge business, right? At the
Yes,
end
it
of the
is.
day,
Yes, it
it's a
is.
huge business. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing really behind the scenes that allows you to have that as a real foundation and staple to how you're showing up in music.
Well, what I'm doing behind the scenes is, you might as well say, I'm doing what a manager would do or a major record label would do for their artists. I'm making sure that because I was an artist myself and walked the walk myself from, you might as well say, like I said, I started in 95. The late, you might as well say 97, 98, I decided to do myself. I decided to put myself out because when I had featured on the Crafty album, that was my first time really breaking myself. And the Sweet Pea album, we used to go do shows, we used to go on tour, and every time I would perform, it just happened to be they would go crazy over me. And I wasn't even a rapper. I didn't even consider myself to be the rapper back then. I never ever considered myself to be the rapper. I always considered myself to be a storyteller or a entertainer,
Mhm.
period, on my journey. So as I got, time go by, I was able to collaborate with a couple individuals. We came up with a couple songs. I made an album. Um, I wind up putting it out. I wind up going to, those who I thought could, assist me with my journey in the industry. But, for some strange odd reason, they made me go find my own worth, and they made me go out and really understand my own worth and who Mr. Benjamin was as an artist and how important Mr. Benjamin was to the Seattle hip hop scene.
Mm.
And when I found my worth and I discovered who I was as an artist, I understood that, it's all about the team effort. It's there is no I in team. You need a team to succeed in the music industry. You need a team to succeed in any field that you want to be professional in. You understand what I'm saying? So I gathered up a couple of my partners and a couple of acquaintances, and we all became a team. And by us becoming a team, I became one of the first artists to reach BET Uncut on my own back in the
Mm.
day. which was a real big feat for a independent artist, especially coming out of Seattle, Washington. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because I don't really know no artist who really been on BET besides an artist that has had a major label influence. I don't
Right.
know no independent artist who has done it on their own like myself. And once I figured that out, I said, "Oh yeah." And I kept that tie with the individuals at BET. I kept that tie with the individuals at MTV all along because I always knew eventually I'm going to step back because my true calling was to work the business angle of the industry instead of actually being an artist. I just
Mhm.
happen to be blessed to be an artist. I just happen to have favor amongst men walking the earth throughout the whole nation and overseas that they gave me the benefit of the doubt.
Well, when you speak about the story behind it all, you are so right about the team effort, and that was going to be one of the next things I love to talk about because almost every time I have an artist on here, you realize like art is its own kind of industry, and then within art, just like T Dub, there's a whole visual artist
Mhm,
community, there's a music artist
mhm,
community, there's a theatrical artist community, and honestly, it is by making those kind of connections and having deep ties with certain people that you're able to really be a part of this kind of family
correct.
of people that are musicians here. How has it been for you to work with your team, but to really connect with other artists here throughout Seattle? I mean, you were talking about the early days being able to put certain artists on and kind of being that almost like a label in and of yourself
Yeah.
to really like market them and manage them. But how has it been for you to really connect to that kind of musical community here in Seattle?
Um, I'm kind of confused what you mean. How's that been? Like, can you elaborate on that a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah. I mean, so what I'm saying is that it takes certain ties,
Mhm.
takes certain connections, right? And ultimately, like almost every time I have artists on, they talk about how those ties have really empowered them in their music, right? Like you're just talking about you had to reach out, you couldn't do it all on your own. You
Correct.
needed that team. So
Correct.
I'm asking, how has it been? Because it really becomes like its own family to a certain degree, where through thick and thin, you got those people that are going to rock with you because they know about your talent.
Correct.
They know what you're going to bring to the world. So that's what I'm asking is
Okay, I
how
got
has
you.
that really been for you to have those kind of ties with folks that are really alongside you through your journey?
That's been amazing and beautiful. I appreciate all of those that has been rocking with me through my whole journey. I thank God that they happen to just have the faith in me
Mhm.
and see that I was capable and I have the star power of being uh a star without having to be validated by anyone, by just validating myself.
Mhm.
Because it's hard to get validated by others who's doing the same thing you're doing. I never ever claimed to be the best. I never ever claimed to be like ain't nobody on my level.
Yeah.
I just claim to be the first because I have accumulated a whole lot of things first. I
Mhm.
just happen to be a trendsetter throughout my community with the things that I've accomplished. Like I'll give you an example, the Mayor's Award from Paul Shell back in 2003. I got a Governor's Recognition Award from Governor Gary Locke
Mhm.
back in the early 2000s. I have my own day proclamation from Ron Sims proclaiming April 13th to be Mr. Benjamin Day for
Mhm.
promoting positive music within the Northwest and the Northwest communities. So there's a whole lot of things that came out of it that I really appreciate that came from my team. I have
Wow.
to really give it up to Skip Young because if it wasn't for Skip, I wouldn't accomplish all of these things.
Yeah.
And he talked to me one day and told me, he said, "Why not, Mr. Benjamin? Why not get you these accolades? Why not go after it? You're trying. You're really trying to make a mark on the Seattle music scene. Instead of just, making it as a hobby, you're making this a career. You're trying to make this a longevity, something to where you can feed your family off of this, or like I've done, pass the torch to my son.
Mm.
And my son has been doing phenomenal things only because I know what it takes to mold and shape an artist along their journey because I I was an artist myself that walked the journey, so I got a chance to see it
Yeah.
and witness it, and stand on those stages where the energy is just so crazy. It's just you can't even explain it.
Yeah.
It's just that feeling that you get, that overwhelming feeling, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
All I could do is just keep thanking God, because I put God first,
Yeah.
because without God, my journey wouldn't be what it is today.
No, I think you're so right about it. And I love hearing that connection and how, it's now intergenerational for you too, bringing your son into it and him being able to have his own talent, but learn from all the lessons that you learned throughout your own music career.
Hmm.
Tell us about this huge feat now. I mean, you did BET back in the day, now back on BET. Tell us what that means to you, because we know that in the hip hop community in particular, BET is a huge, huge honor. And it's like a huge accomplishment. I'm
Correct.
sure it took a lot to get there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to be able to be back on BET again in 2022 from the early 2000s is breathtaking to me. Is I kind of get emotional because I'm a proud father at the end of the day, and it makes me, feel good inside to see my son take off where I left off, and shine just as bright as his dad.
Mm.
Because I tell him all the time, I say, man, your grandma told me that you never know who's watching you. Keep doing what you're doing, because you never know who's really looking. And I didn't understand that for a long time throughout my journey and my career, until one day I get a call that I achieved all these accolades and these awards. It blew my mind,
Mm.
because I'm looking at myself like, I'm not thinking in a million years that, oh, Mr. Benjamin is going to be able to shake hands with the mayor, shake hands with the governor. I'm even the first artist, to endorse Obamacare in Washington. I'm
Mm.
I'm the first person's application to get manually submitted through, you know and that was an honor for me, because for us to have our first black president, why not endorse us? You know what I'm saying? That's a beautiful feat for us. Others may not understand it, others may not feel, it is, but it doesn't matter what others think, because the accolades that I've achieved and the things that I was able to do in my career are remarkable.
Yeah. Well,
You can't take that from me.
you really can't. And that's why I'm so glad that you were able to join us today. And honestly, kudos to you for the hard work, because we know that, accolades don't come to anybody without that hard work behind it,
Correct.
right?
That now
And
that's
so,
correct.
I mean, as you talked about your team and you talk about your legacy here, it's such an honor to have you join me today. For folks out there that want to catch up with you, follow up with the music, make sure that they're staying plugged in and tuned in, let them know right there how they can stay tuned in with Mr. Benjamin.
Well, you can get at us on all social media platforms, at Mr. Benjamin 2008. You can get at my son at Mari Base One. That's MARIBASED1. And you can find everything out on us online. Google us. It really ain't hard, because all the facts speak for itself. And what makes this so history making and so legendary for me to be on Converge Media today is that I just happen to be one of those individuals out of the Seattle rap scene and the hip hop scene to be able to celebrate last Sunday like the Super Bowl champs celebrated, the Rams, to make history. I made history when the video aired on BT Jams. It started airing on Super Bowl Sunday.
Wow.
And he has already had 5 other videos that's already been on BET Jams. So I really didn't make a big thing out of the other 5, because that's what we were supposed to do, and I'm happy for him. But what makes this legendary is that the song that me and him is on together, that I'm featuring on, made it. That's what makes this legendary. That's what makes this history, for a father and son to both love doing the same thing and both be on a national platform independently,
Mm.
without no major backing, without no major help.
Yeah.
That's a big feat in itself.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
believe that the world need to know about my story, because you're not going to run across somebody like me too often. You're not gonna, if I don't put my story out there or inform others, my story might not even be heard.
Well, also, it's inspiring to young artists out there to understand that it's possible. And I think everything you're talking about here, I love to really hone in on that inspiration piece, because there's another young artist out there, hip
Yes.
hop, whatever, and they're like, man, is it ever going to be possible for me to hit a national platform? And you're here sharing your story to make sure that they understand it is possible. So, Mr. Benjamin, thank you again for giving us some of your time
Man,
today
thank you
on
for having
Converge
me.
Media and right here in the Black Media Matter Studios on Feel Good Friday. Thank you for bringing your feel good energy, brother.
Man, thank you. I also want to leave this before I go. Those of you who are inspired and want to get into the music and want to get into the rap scene, regardless of what genre are you in and regardless of what area you in, take it from me, it's possible. All you have to do is keep going, and don't let nobody stop you from pursuing your dream, because your dream is your dream. Your dream ain't nobody else's dream. Your dream is more important to you than it is to anybody else. So just remember, stay focused on what you want to do. Validate yourself. Don't let nobody else validate you. And believe you me, I'm living proof of that. My idol and the person who I look up to in the industry is Clarence Avant. Clarence Avant is the black godfather of the music industry, period. And I would love to pattern myself after that man.
Wow. You had your inspiration and now you're inspiring others. Mr. Benjamin, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.